Back in a few hours, and we're going to be joined in just a moment by an activist named Dan Dykes, Press for Truth in Canada. He's done a lot of good work. And not only is it 2:43 in the morning, yes, I'm a little tired. I've been editing this Iserbyt piece over here in the other room for the past 10 hours, trying to get it ready for air later. Not only is it late in the night, if you're still listening out there, and we hope you are, but it is late in the game, and it's no unspecific time in history. I'm going to get more into this later, but for a long time, people weren't literate. Nobody knew what was going on, and it's very much what people like Zbigniew Brzezinski have talked about. This is the time of the global awakening, and it's really a big challenge of which direction it's going to go. So supporting an organization like InfoWars is more than just something in this limited time now. It's something that you need to do because this is the time in history. Things are changing now, and if we don't influence the way things are going, we'll never have another chance. So if you believe in the InfoWars mission, carry out similar work yourself, donate to us, get the word out, spread the DVDs, and all of that. But we especially need your support here at Infowars.com through this money bond vehicle and the rest of it, because we need to grow and reach people while we still can, while we have the power of the internet, before they clamp down and before we enter fully this global society so we can try to change things. Do we have Dan now on the line? Yeah. So Dan Dykes is somebody, I first met him back in 2006 in Canada at the Bilderberg meeting, and I know he had done some activism before that, but he spoke on our cameras, ended up in the Endgame film, and I know that was one of the events that really helped wake him up, not only to what's going on, but to the need for he himself to take action. He has definitely been one of the people taking action out there, as we all need to. Again, if you can't donate, can't spread the word, get out there physically on the street, talk to people, make videos yourself. And Dan Dykes has done that. He's made at least 3, if not 4 films now. We've carried them. We have his latest one, Into the Fire. Dan, are you there? I can't hear you right now. Is it coming through?
Oh, you got me now?
Hey, Dan, great to have you with us. And what can we talk about here tonight?
Oh, whatever you want to get into, man. Speaking about, meeting you back in 2006, I definitely remember that, being interviewed for Endgame, and that was a very cool experience. And, back then, I remember I used to tell a lot of people about you, Aaron. I would often describe you as the man behind the man, because obviously, it's such a big production going on over there, but a lot of times people don't realize. I mean, Alex is the face of it all, but there's a whole group of people behind him who are integral to the operation and making it all work. And so I would often refer to you as the man behind the man, and I just want to say it's great now to see you getting out in front, getting on the camera. You got your own YouTube channel and the web, your Facebook and everything, and getting more active, and it's awesome. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's not even something I really intended to do, but it's what Alex talks about a lot of times, the man who gets into the arena. That's the Teddy Roosevelt quote, I think. I remember personally back to the time when I kind of knew instinctively 9/11 was an inside job, but I was real depressed about it for a long time. I saw so many people taking the bait, and I didn't know what I could do about it myself. I didn't understand our power to transform really everyone's reaction to that kind of stuff. We won so many victories on that, and just me personally getting into the battle has transformed so many things in my own life, but also helped me reach other people, turning on other people. I know you've done the same thing, Dan.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's really what it's all about. Is you got to just dive in head first and take this kind of thing head on. When people are wanting to get active and wanting to get involved in this movement, that's really all it takes. I mean, anybody can take this up and do it themselves, especially nowadays. I mean, it's a YouTube channel is free, a WordPress blog is free. You already pretty much probably have a camera in your pocket with your cell phone. So it's really just a matter of taking that first initial step and doing it. Like I did in 2006, I had went to a lot of events before that, but that was pretty much the first time I brought a camera with me, and that's what gave me, I had the bug ever since then. I've had the itch to continue to want to do it ever since then, and that's really what it takes, man. It's just diving in head first and taking a stab at it, and, anybody can do this, and that's the encouraging thing about it all.
That's what I mean. The information has come to be not only free, but priceless. This is the time we can use that information to transform things. Hundreds, thousands, whatever years ago, not only could people not read, but even if you could read, you couldn't afford a book, basically, unless you were the priest class or the royalty. Now we have all these tools at our fingertips, and if we don't use them, well, what's the point anyway?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt technology is a double-edged sword, and the internet right now, I mean, we can essentially, in certain ways, use the system against the system. And that's the beautiful thing about the times that we're living in now, and we have to take full advantage of it now as we can, because, you know, it's tough to say how much longer it's going to continue like this, because I believe the establishment realizes that this movement is getting absolutely huge, and they're going to try to figure out a way to stifle our efforts. So right now is the perfect time to get active, and if you haven't taken that initial step, that first step, I would say do it. Just go for it, man. Get a YouTube channel, start a website, start putting yourself out there, and just expose and raise awareness about issues that you feel people need to hear about. And that's where it's at. And then, you know, as they often say, down the rabbit hole you'll go, and hopefully you'll just continue the work. So it's a great time to be involved in the fight against the New World Order.
Absolutely, and obviously it's not about knowing everything when you first get out there. It's about getting out there and doing it and beginning to grasp what's going on. But at the same time, we have stuff like the Occupy Wall Street movement, a lot of the righteous anger from the masses, the 99%, as they like to call it, really the 99.999%. I think it's about 1,000,000 to 1 ratio of the true elites. But the point is, many of them, as well-meaning as they may be, are not sophisticated enough to even understand how the Federal Reserve affects our lives. And so all the more reason that we need well-educated info warriors to get out there and try to spread the message and get people on our side recognizing the right issues. Now, I know a lot of your films have dealt with the past G20 meetings. They have another one coming up in Cannes, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the things you highlight in there is all the attempts to steer those protests in the wrong direction. Provocateurs, people infiltrating, trying to spread the message and change it. And obviously that can go in both directions, but we've really seen Occupy being drawn towards the lure of the seemingly promising global solutions that they have ready and waiting. How do we get people steered in the right direction? And also, what kind of infiltration and provocateur things have we seen in this movement and in the coming G20 meetings?
Well, with the G20 kicking off today, I believe, in France, I often refer to it as the traveling circus of tyranny, because that's really what it does. Every city that it goes to every year, they're pretty much not only conditioning the people and showing them the pure power and might that they have, they are also conditioning the police forces to go ahead and enforce all of these things. And of course, this is an area where a lot of people have learned about this group called the Black Bloc, as you mentioned. And as you'll see in my film, Into the Fire, these guys, pretty much anywhere where the Black Bloc was, police were nowhere to be found. What ended up happening is you had a group of about 70 or 80 of these guys who were pretty much given a green light to go ahead and rampage the city and, smash up the banks and do whatever they want downtown. But, that is what the elite wants. They want you to get out into the streets. They want you to start smashing things up and causing a big scene, a big ruckus, so that they can step in and say, whoa, look at these guys. Look how crazy this is. We're going to have to step in and deal with the situation. It all goes back to this whole order out of chaos concept, which they're doing now. And I do worry a little bit about the current Occupy movement. I've been speaking with a lot of the people here in Toronto, and I'm starting to feel it's kind of 50-50. I mean, there's a lot of people around here who are fully aware of the problems with fractional reserve banking. And, the Bank of Canada does have the ability to print its own money interest-free, but we don't do that. So a lot of people are aware of that. However, I'm still finding a lot of these people these anti-capitalist type people who are pushing for socialism and communism and kind of trying to steer the movement into a direction which is not going to help anyone. So certainly it's something we have to keep an eye on, because it's tough to say right now where this thing is going to go.
Yeah, but we do know they're offering all these global solutions, so many different groups, none of them officially speaking for the movement, are trying to draw people into, whether it's a global Tobin tax or whatever the solution may be, new global constitution, supposedly trying to democratize the IMF and other really awful hegemonic global institutions, Dan. That has to play into these G20 meetings. What are they aiming for specifically?
Well, that's why we need to get to the root of the problem. That's why people need to focus on what the real root of the problem is. And it's the issuance of currency out of thin air, the ability for private banks to print money and lend it out at interest. People are aware that our whole financial institutions are a major problem. That's why there's such huge protests that come out to the G20 summits. So again, we just need to continue to raise awareness about what some of the what we feel the real issues are, and hopefully people in this occupation movement are paying attention, and they'll start working towards these solutions, which are actually going to benefit the people, and not the very system that they're fighting against.
Yeah, we'll see how this all develops. But of course, another thing these groups like the IMF have done have really cast a wide net that gradually over time draws in all these client states into this New World Order system, really making us all debt slaves. And so if we don't figure this out, the end of it all is going to be coming soon. But of course, everything's changing right now. We got the whole European zone in crisis, and they're ready to blame the people for not accepting this debt for the whole fall, the next part of the crash. But we know who set this up. We know who designed it. Yeah, for sure. And we have a fairly good idea of where this could potentially lead. One aspect of the occupation movement that somewhat worries me is how it all kind of could potentially tie into this new age type of movement and type of agenda about this unified consciousness concept and having the whole world unified globally under one particular issue. I think people need to be careful and be aware that it's very quite possible that sometimes some things within the truth movement could be used as that vehicle that the New World Order needs. I have hope that, because I have hope that people are going to do the right thing. I mean, things are going well because people are getting out in the streets. That's the beautiful thing, basically. I mean, people are getting active. People are getting out in the streets. They're realizing things need to change. And that's a good thing. We just have to be careful that when this gets onto a massive global kind of scale with everybody on the same page, we got to remember that's part of the goals of the New World Order. So it's a tricky one, but we got to watch out for that. Yeah, well said, Dan. Why don't you tell us about some of the stuff you've seen in the past at these G20 events with the police provocateurs, how they were identified, and what kind of divisive actions they caused so people can look out for it in the future? Sure.
My first experience with that was in 2007 in Montebello for the SPP summit. I went there to cover it, and that's when the infamous 3 agent provocateurs were caught red-handed, dressed up as aggressive protesters. They had the masks and the rocks in their hands, and the Quebec police ended up admitting to it, and they were